As we walk past each other, Elton just goes to me, "Well done, mate, you fucked me." Do you want to see us rehearse? And it was Oasis minus Liam. And he was like, "What are your favourite songs?" So I picked
You're
5.
kidding.
And then Noel and the band did it to only me. Last thing I want to do is encourage anyone to get my There's no room. And I see my job as pulling up the ladder after me. I remember ringing my wife and I'd had a couple of beers. And I was like, "Hey, us moving to Australia." She was like, 100% I'm up for that. I'm like, "Really?" I was hoping you would say, "That's crazy. It's going to destroy you and they will hate you for the first year." The first message that I got 10 minutes into the show was, "Fuck off home." And I was like, "Ooh."
Test 1 2 1 2, Bryce. Hello. Christian.
Hello. Is this too close?
It's actually perfect, I
I
think.
have a very strong, powerful voice.
Yeah, that's
and it could blow up this weak ass equipment.
yeah.
You know, it's just sometimes.
Hope that wasn't recording because
Road
Road have sent us this stuff for free. So thanks, Road.
Well, I don't speak into anything less than a Rode microphone. Why don't you take a Rode on the road? Wherever you go, make it Rode.
Now we will ask for an upgrade on
I
that.
want an
Send them the
upgrade.
clip.
Get them an upgrade, Rode. The guy's like a billionaire. What's sending these little starter kits? It's like a children's sort of podcast set.
Can we start with that?
Yeah, I know.
My first podcast. This feels like a hostage video because where we're filming this is where people get killed. We're in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere in a back street in Melbourne.
And you know what? If we're rolling, that's the start of the podcast. Welcome everybody to the dos&d show. We've got a very special guest, an icon, an idol of ours, Christian O'Connell. Welcome to the dos&d show.
Guys, slow down, calm it down. Because people watching this are going, "I've never heard of him." You can't say someone's an icon and it's some guy from the radio that most people don't know who he is. That's not an icon. Doesn't need an introduction. People go, "Oh, I know who this is." There you go. Who is it?
We've got a global guest. A lot of our guests, they've great names. They're massive, but they're big in the city of Melbourne or Australia. But your tentacles reach far and wide, Christian. So,
well, it must be really nice for Mac Horton to hear that. So what, he's just a small town hero. Hey, listen, Mac, you're pretty good, but you haven't done a radio show ever. What do you like on FM radio? Anyone can swim, mate.
Oh, God. I'm already crying, tears streaming down my face.
Well, you're lucky to be sat with an icon. Soak it up, guys. Soak it up.
I mean, but prior, we should have been recording before because we were basically, we're giving each other a bit of love. Christian was, saying, how impressed he was with us, and we were giving.
I never said any of that.
Congratulations.
I'm lost. I just got lost down anyway, and I walked into the set.
We had pure intentions to actually kick it off by saying congratulations on everything that you've created across your whole career, but in particular the growth of your show here in Melbourne, and the big opportunity that now awaits with the new deal with the simulcast going across the whole of the country, the first of its kind in Australia, mate. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very lucky. I've been doing radio, next month, 28 years, and so moved to Australia 7 years ago, and it's hard. Australian radio is really competitive. Obviously, UK, London radio is as well, but it's crazy here. People get fired very quickly, and it was a big risk, kind of an unknown English guy, and I don't think I really realised at the time just what a big thing it was going to be. I was a very seismic difference, and a lot of people just didn't like it, and so I didn't really think it would. It was touch and go whether it would really work, to be honest. I wanted it to because I love Australia, and my wife and kids really loved it here as well. But so to be honest, to be sat here 7 years later, and I'm talking about what's happening in January, and it would be the first breakfast show to go live around Australia. I can't believe the adventure that I came. I lost my mojo a bit in the UK, and so I wanted more adventure. I was in my 40s. And so I keep getting that. I'm very, very lucky to do what I do. And it's really what really inspires me is when I come on and meet guys like you who work hard and you're making great stuff. So, well done.
Thanks.
I appreciate
This is
that.
an amazing industry you've got here.
Thank you.
We're very lucky, and we pitch ourselves that we get to chat with people like you, Christian. And we're going to go all the way back shortly, but I actually want to touch on that move to Australia because, like we said, we've read your book. It's a great read. We will plug it again later on. But
It came out 4 years ago. It's a bit late.
well, people can still pick up a copy. You
I'm
still get
writing another
royalties,
book
don't you?
right now. Save the plug until
Oh,
next
we'll
year,
save
okay?
the plug. All right, okay. But one part that was really interesting was your initial, I suppose, response when you came to Australia. And we don't want to start on a negative, but we will anyway. The hate that you copped.
Yeah.
Where do you feel that came from? Because we talk about this quite often on our show about tall poppy syndrome in this country.
Yeah.
But does it exist as much in the UK?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get it. I was, like I said, you're an English guy, you're unknown. And so a lot of people are like, well, the first message that I got 10 minutes into the show was fuck off home. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just said goodbye to a show that I'd done for 12 years that had 2.5 million listeners. And so there was this outpouring of goodbye. And then 2 weeks later, you're suddenly the other side of the world and it's, well, basically fuck off home. The next day, someone emailed. I mean, this is beautifully written. If Shakespeare was alive, he'd be proud of this. Actually just said, no one invited you. That cuts. I mean, it's a perfect sledge, isn't it? No one invited you. You feel like you're back at school, and you were invited to a party, but the kid's mum must have just said, please invite that lonely kid. And so it's like, no one invited me. That really it still stays with me now. And so I really was like, this was a terrible, terrible mistake. If this is a midlife crisis, it's a pretty bad one to move and start a radio show from scratch. But like I said, I'd reached my mid-40s. I've been very lucky in my career in the UK. And I kind of worked really hard and I got what I wanted. And then it was like, I'd realized actually that, and I hope this never happens to you guys, but you can reach a point in your life where you feel like you're doing an impression of yourself. It'll become actually really easy. And so I was kind of on autopilot and I hated that. That's not who I am. And so on paper, everything was going really well, but it was like, I just felt stuck. And so we'd always loved Australia. And I realized I was in my mid-40s, so my wife, our daughters were about just another year or two from turning teenagers. And so you could look back and see the arc of it. Like, well, 5 or 6 years' time, they're going to leave home. We wanted our life to still be an adventure. And so we were like, could it work going to Australia? And so I managed to get a job here, but I do understand why there would have been a big backlash. It was really vitriolic. It was a lot because to do my job, you have to pretend that people like you. And when there's no evidence of that, it's actually really hard. So, it's, I didn't even get to be a tall poppy. They didn't even let me get that. They were like, no. Oh, a tiny poppy? No. But I think it also shows I love my life here. And what I'd done 20 years of stand-up and TV and radio in the UK, and I've learnt more in the last 7 years than 20 years in the UK about what this is really about, why I do it. And that's been really important to me. I wouldn't trade that in. I wouldn't change anything about what happened in that tough sort of first couple of months. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Love it.
What were why was Sarah so adamant on coming to Australia too? Like, she wanted to come here. What did you have any, for people that don't know, connections to Aussies here already?
I'll tell you what it was. Before we got married, when I first started dating my wife, she'd been to this country called Australia, right? And so this is like in the mid-90s when we met, 1996. And she kept going, this country called Australia. I'd never been there. And still then it was quite a sort of exotic place to even think about going to. And so she was always like, I really would love to go back. I'd love to take you there. And so, I think it was 2000 when I first came to Australia. And I just loved it. I'd always thought it'd be amazing if I could get a job here one day. But my career was just starting to take off in the UK, and so I just got a London breakfast show, which is always my dream, and so I sort of parked it. But we'd always, I think it was meeting Hamish and Andy around 2010, 2011, and they were such fans of Australia and Melbourne. They didn't get me the job here, but I remember ringing Andy Lee. I went out for lunch with a radio boss, and he was telling me how a UK radio presenter got a job in Australia. And sometimes jealousy is a really good emotion to tap into. And I was so jealous that this guy had got a job on Australian radio. It gave me this jolt, and I realised, if I'm jealous, that means he's doing something I think I should be doing. Well, no one's saying I can't. Get on with it. So I remember ringing my wife, and I'd had a couple of beers, and I was like, hey, what about us moving to Australia? She was like, 100%, I'm up for that. I'm like, really? I was hoping you would say, that's crazy. It's going to destroy you, and they will hate you for the first year. And so it came out of frustration, and a tiny bit of jealousy sometimes wakes you up to actually what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
People undervalue it. They think it's bad to be jealous. I think if you're feeling jealous about somebody doing something which you think you should be doing, That's the message. Listen to that. It's got a lot of wisdom in there. Go and do it.
Yeah.
I think I recently started coaching people, and I realized that I think a lot of us, on some level, we're all looking for someone or something in life to give us a permission slip. And I realized a lot of my job really is kind of like just giving someone a permission slip to be themselves. And so I'm so grateful that we came here. But it would never work to me coming here if I didn't. Sarah's my wife. She's a rock. And everything that we've got to happen here, that would not happen without support of a really strong partner, because it's very easy for me to go off and do the radio show. She had to do the real hard stuff, which is like, our daughters settling into schools. They had to move schools 3 times in the first year. It was just like, it was a really hard couple of years. And so she was across all of that. My challenge on the radio is a tiny thing compared to what she was dealing with. So yeah, I'd feel a bit fake if I wasn't saying as much as like I've done well here. She's been driving a lot of that.
We've had the pleasure over the years of interviewing some absolute legends of Australian radio and broadcasting, and it's interesting to hear their stories. Some love it, some fallen into it by accident, some are right place, right time, some have said they've heard a comedy bit and said you may be good on radio, and then the rest is history. But for you, it's really interesting to hear your passion for radio, and it's always kind of been there. So can you take us back? I would love to hear about the hospital radio, because to me that's just a fascinating story. So if you're willing to take us all the way back to the roots, yeah.
Yeah, I think 2 big things happened when I was 13. And I think when we're teenagers, sometimes something happens. You see something, you read something, and it sparks you up. And you don't realize at the time, but it stays in you. And so when I was 13, there were 2 things that happened. The first thing was I saw this comedian called Billy Connolly on TV. And he wasn't like... and in the 80s, you didn't see a lot of comedians on TV. And if you did, they were like in a dinner suit and making really bad jokes about their mother-in-law. and so Billy Connolly was there, and he was like telling these crazy stories that were wild. He was talking about growing up working class, and I had a very working class background. And he was kind of outrageous and had this big energy. What blew me away was he was just so funny. And Mum and my dad worked really hard. My mum was a nurse. My dad worked in a car factory for Fords. And it was just like, I'd never seen them so happy. They were like bent over, screaming with laughter. It was the power of this guy on TV, like a lightning bolt in my tiny front room, just changing the energy. And I couldn't work out how he could be that funny with no script. I was obsessed. Like, it was like some sort of wizard. And he was just like making spells on the spot. And so that, for me, and how he told stories, how I tell a story on the radio, that all came from Billy Connolly. Billy won't go A to B. It's a meandering path, and it's all the better for it. You don't even know what the punchline was to a story half the time.
Yeah.
You've got an hour and you're like, what's he even talking about? But you're having so much fun. And so, but just seeing someone being really funny live in the moment with no script, that blew me away. And then there was a radio DJ called Steve Wright in the afternoon, and I'd never heard a radio DJ like that. He was really funny. And most DJs then were just they were just music announcers. His was on TV tonight. It's just really boring. And suddenly you had someone who was really edgy. He was very funny, very sarcastic, and he had the characters on the show with the production team. So we chatting to producers and stuff like this. And sometimes it could be really moving and very honest as well. I'd never heard radio like that. And everyone at school all listened to Steve Wright in the afternoon, and the next day you'd be talking about funny segments. And straight away to me, I was just obsessed. I was like, what? That sounds like the best job in the world. Whatever he's doing, that's what I want to do. So it was radio or stand-up for me were the 2 things that I wanted to do. And then in the UK, it's a very strange system. All hospitals, most of them, have something called hospital radio. Right, it's a terrible idea. You've got amateurs that weren't good enough to get a job in radio, running their own radio stations, and like volunteers paying money for all their state-of-the-art equipment. I've worked for actual professional radio stations making money that had worse studios. They're like, these hospitals are like asking for money for medical equipment, and then the
ultrasounds,
studios had better gear, And so I was just like, this does not make any sense. But it was a great way. A lot of UK radio presenters, very good presenters, cut their teeth doing that. And don't forget, this is before podcasting.
Yeah.
So you need to, whatever it is in life, you've got to build up your air miles. You get better by the doing of it. And so it was the only way for me to start to try and hopefully get into radio was to do hospital radio. And so I just remember I got this Sunday show at like midnight, and there was literally no one listening. Why would you? It's a choice on your handset between professionals or some amateur. You know, it was like other people doing shows like a postman and stuff like that, and none of us are very good.
I'm just thinking of Alan Partridge for some
It was worse
reason.
than Partridge. It was worse than AP. It was just like quite shoddy, but they took it really seriously, right?
Yeah.
And so I did a request show at midnight till 2 a.m. There's no one listening to radio then in a hospital bed. They're ill. Why would they want to hear someone who's very bad? You listen to a pro. Yeah. So anyway, I had to go around the ward asking sick people, who are like lying there and going, "Do you want to can I play you a song?" And no one ever wanted a song, right? So you just had to make up requests for 2 hours. And so I knew there was no one really listening. Anyway, I remember once playing this song, and I was just bored, and it was like 1 a.m. And so all the songs we played were vinyl as well. And so I just remember stopping this song halfway through, taking the needle off, and went, "Look, that was for Elsa, but she's just died. So she has died. There's no point playing anymore. Gives me more time to play songs for living people." I got fired.
Oh my God.
How can you get fired from a job where no one was listening to get upset? And also, you can't fire a volunteer. You're not paying me. It's the only time I've ever been sacked. Well, I wouldn't even call it a job. There was no money. And so I thought that was the end of my radio career.
How old would have you been then?
I would think I was like 16.
Oh, you were young as.
Wow. Yeah, I was just a kid.
Are you enjoying this one with Christian O'Connell?
Mate, loving it.
It's about to get even better. But before we dive right in, here comes a quick word from our friends Fleet Plan Hire Solutions.
Can't forget about FBH. You all know FBH by now.
They don't forget them.
If you're new to the show, Fleet Plan Hire Solutions, the kings of all things earth-moving equipment across the country.
That's right. And when we say country, they are completely national. They're dominating Queensland at the moment, based here in Victoria originally, and now they're heading across the border to SA. So it doesn't matter where you're based in the country, they can service you.
If you need truck hire, plan hire, or any type of earth-moving equipment, no matter the project, massive, medium, maybe something small in the backyard, they'll be able to get you the equipment you need and everything's taken care of.
Exactly. So visit fph.com.au right now for more information, and we'll get back into the episode with Christian O'Connell.
I tell you what, though, just being in that studio, I felt very comfortable in a radio studio. I always do now, wherever I am. It's like, that's a happy place for me. I think they're magical places. I remember the day before, it was a Sunday afternoon before I started the first show here. And there was just so much hype around me. There were like posters, billboards all over town. And it was actually quite intimidating. I remember just going into the radio studio by myself and just looking at a microphone like this. And I just liked the bare bones of it. Like, ultimately, this is going to be between me and you. What happens in the next year or so? And there was something really, really exciting about that. I love the promise and the potential. There was like, forget all the noise, all the posters, all the hype around it. It doesn't matter. It's going to come down to this. And I was really like, I felt like it was like an invitation.
Yeah.
Step up. Let's see, you want adventure, come and do it. You know, I felt like I was rolling my sleeves back up again. And, you know, the last show I did in the UK, we had 2.5 million listeners. So I never had to worry all of a sudden about people calling in. Now I did again. And it reminded me of what it was like to start again. And you remember, it was like a do-over. And the show got so big, I'd kind of lost contact with what that means when people call in, the joy of that. And so building it from scratch again after 20 years was so exciting. I've still got a picture on my phone. I remember the end of the first week. Before I started, Andy Lee and I had breakfast together, and he was like, "What's your big fear?" And I said, "Oh, it's that they won't call him." He goes, "You're probably going to have to wait 6 months. They'll be sussing you out." And I went, I'll quit. If I can't get him to call him within 6 shows or 6 weeks, I'll just quit. It's just, I'm just not good enough. And I remember at the end of the first week, there's a thing in radio where all the lines are jammed. It means that there's hundreds of people calling in. Nobody else can get through. That happened at the end of the first week. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening, it's working. I can feel it now, it's giving me goosebumps.
Yeah.
I was like, it's working, they're talking to me. I knew if I could get them talking to me, other people listening would hear. And I knew one of my strengths is how I am with callers. I absolutely love talking to people and hearing their stories. And so I realized it was a bit like a restaurant. If you walk past a restaurant, there's no one in there, you're not going in, all right? But if there's people eating in there, you think, well, it can't be that bad.
That's right.
We're going in. So I was like, that's what I saw my radio show was, if they can hear people calling in, people are going to go, oh, okay, maybe there's something happening here. And so, yeah, it was a joy being able to step by step, day by day, show by show, build it again. And this time you're remembering it more. When you're trying to make it in an industry, you just want to be at the next level. I bet you guys like that. You're constantly comparing where you are now and where you want to be. And you need that, otherwise you don't have drive. But what you do is after a while, sometimes you look back and you forget to mark the small moments. You're obsessed with more comparison. And so it's really nice to almost be grounded again, show by show. And so I even did small things that I numbered each show. I still do. If you tune into my show, you'll hear, show number 1,552, like you did today. I started that. I'd never done it before in my career, but here I did it. So it was an audible reminder of you doing this. Don't get ahead of yourself. Stop worrying about next year and whether you'll have a job. You're in show number 3. It's now show number 4. And I wanted the audience to feel like this. I'm aware this is new. I'm building this with you. We do it together. And so when the show goes national next year, I'll reset it because things are going to change a tiny bit. And so it will go back to show 0, that I'm doing something new. And it reminds me mentally that you're building it again, day at a time, day at a time. Don't get too obsessed. We'll try and be... We always want to know how everything is going to work out, and it's like you're trying to peer around the bend of the river, when I think that's not the way it's supposed to be. That will reveal itself when you're ready to know. You need to be more in the moment now, and so that's why I'll start renumbering the show. Small thing, but it's really important.
Yeah, it's so important, and it's something that I'm glad that you kind of brought it up because it's something we've tried really hard to do in the last probably year is celebrate just the little wins, because they're not little wins; they're big wins for us.
They are.
And if we don't, unfortunately, because of social media and where you want to get to and having big aspirations, you're constantly working hard and you want to get to where you want to get to. But, to be able to do what we do and sit down with you, I guarantee you'll walk out today and we'll be like, oh, that was freaking cool, and it's important to do that. For people that might want to get into, say, the radio industry,
don't bother. Last thing I want to do is encourage anyone to get into my industry. There's no room. And I see my job as pulling up the ladder after me, not lowering it down for any of you people to try and replace me. It's a horrible industry and you won't be able to make it.
Next question, Don.
I was going to...
And I'm talking to you.
Don't worry, I sensed it. I could feel it, Christian.
No. He's like an alpha dog, this guy. There's pheromones coming off him right now. He's sizing me up. You saw that Terence Crawford fight yesterday taking on Canelo. You think of Crawford.
I'll bring it on. Well, when it comes to getting in, so for you, like you didn't get straight into front of the mic for your first breakfast radio show. You actually worked at a radio station in a sales capacity, and I feel like that's actually a bigger in, and not just with radio or media in general, but in other organisations like sport or like you're not going to get to the top straight away. You do have to, work your way up to the top. Is that something that was always part of your plan to get in, or did that come about by accident?
No, not at all. It's not a recognised path, actually. It's because in fact, I never known anyone else that did it, really. It was simply, I met my wife and I was like boring her with like, I want to be on the radio and don't know how to do it. And she was like, well, they're not going to like knock on the door and beg you to come and be on the radio. You need to just get into the building and start to be funny. I was like, it doesn't work like that. They don't like salespeople, the content side of it. There's a tension there. And she said, well, at the moment, nothing's happening. So I was doing this sales job and I didn't really want to be doing it. I wanted to be doing stand-up or on the radio. But I kept just getting promoted and headhunted for a job.
What a shame. How terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Pay rise.
And I had so much debt to pay off. And so I thought, well, why don't I just take a job at a radio station? And so I did, and it was actually really good fun, but I got to meet a lot of the bosses. And there was this mad Australian boss. I was in the pub one night, and I said, look, can I just say, the sales job's fine, but I really want to be on the radio. And he said, well, look, they owned about 10 radio stations around the UK. He said, someone's just quit from one of our breakfast shows. Go and audition. So I went and did an audition, and I got offered it. And I had to take a 60% pay cut. It was the first time in my life I was starting to pay off some big debts. And this was the same year I got married. I was so poor when I got married. My wife had to lend me the money to buy my own wedding suit. It was that embarrassing. I I've got 2 daughters. I would not let them marry a man who couldn't afford his own wedding suit. But my wife had to. I paid her back, by the way. She had to lend me the money. It's amazing, isn't it?
That's crazy.
And so our wedding rings were 70. This is worth $70. And I said to my wife a couple of years ago, we should do an upgrade. And she was like, no, it reminds us of what we came from.
Yeah.
And so this means way more than $70.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I kind of got in that way, and I wasn't very good. You know, there's no way I would have been. But I knew straight away I can get good at this. I saw it the first 2 years as an apprenticeship. So I would work for free at the weekend. I just needed to get comfortable in the radio studio. So I would do like a 4-hour show at the weekend. The boss couldn't afford to pay me. I just needed the experience. I wanted to learn how it all worked. And it was much better for that. Nowadays, I get a lot of emails from people. They want to come in where I am.
Yeah.
There are no hacks. You guys have found that out doing this. You know, everyone thinks it's like the gold rush for content. And good stuff can do really well, but you still got to work at it. And you should. You know,
100%.
it's like the way, and you learn your lessons along the way because it's hard. You know, and so the first 2 years was pretty poor at times. And there's a bit where your appetite, or your desire to be good, and where you are is really miles apart. But one thing I would advise anyone, if they are interested in making content, listening and watching yourself back is brutal. But the only way, if you really want to get better, is to put your ego aside. It's really hard. But I got a lot better very quickly because I would make myself hear stuff back. But then if I was learning golf, you guys love playing golf, the coaches film you because how you think you are and where your body is and where your hands are, you've got no idea. So it's the same thing. You're studying tape and you're like, oh, that's not, oh, I see, right. I can't feel it. I'm a bit disconnected. And so watching yourself back, listening to yourself back, you'll get better a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But people don't want to do it because you're like, oh, it's rough. But then
painful,
also when
yeah.
you hear it right, you go, oh, I'm making changes. I can help myself get better. And so I will still do that now.
Love it.
Hair breaks back where I'm like, I could have gotten to that bit better, or I wasn't listening enough. So it's really important to still be working at what you do. That's what mastery is. It's the joy of growing. I like being humbled by other people doing great content.
It's on that word content. It's a hype word. It's somewhat
Overused, isn't it?
But I'm really interested to hear this perspective from you. So, and I love hearing that you were against the traditional radio, or not against, but you wanted to move away from secret sounds and the typical thing that all radio stations do. But also in that hunt and that drive and the hunger for you in the early days of pushing boundaries too. We wanted to be edgy. It's things that people enjoy listening to, but then also potentially reining it in over years and looking back going, oh, a live vasectomy, you know, is that a great idea? But I'd love to just hear what your kind of thinking was in those days in terms of, okay, pushing the envelope, and then obviously where it ended up taking you.
I remember when I was 18, me and my friends all used to meet on a Friday and Saturday night at this local pub. And everyone was funny. My friends were funny. I was funny. I was in a funny group. And so I used to hear radio and think, why can't it be like a real conversation? And so when I got into radio, and I still am to this day, I'm constantly trying to tilt that show back to it being as real a conversation, how we speak, how we tell stories, as possible. The less like a radio show it is, the better. Because how people talk on the radio is not how real people talk. And so I couldn't work out, why would I need to speak differently? Now, obviously, you're on the radio, so there's certain things you do have to do. But by and large, my favorite compliment anyone would say, it feels like we really know you, and it's real, and it's like a real conversation. It should be. You know, that's why people like what you do, and why we want. We're in a very artificial world. I don't just mean with AI. I mean with the filters and Instagram and TikTok. It's heavily. There's nothing genuine about most of it.
Highlights.
And it's edited and it's not organic. Yeah.
So I think that we're in a time that's of hyper connection, but realistically, we're incredibly disconnected. And people are desperate for connection, but authentic connection. We want realness. I do. You know, we were talking beforehand about, personal development books. I read all them. I still do. but actually, some of them these days are increasingly like, I can 10x this, optimize this. I don't want to be optimized. It sounds really hard work. I'm a fucking human. How about we just be semi-optimized? I don't want to 10x things. It sounds really tiring. It's like being yelled at, you know, by a PE teacher. 10x this. I can hack this, optimize this. It's tyrannical.
true.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And none of it works. Otherwise, why are we still reading these new self-help books?
I know.
And so, you know, I work on this book at the moment. It's kind of going to be an anti-self-help book. It will involve minimal effort. There's no 10x, it's minus 10x. In my image, it's like, it's self-discovery that you can do in an armchair. You know, that's my idea of success. And so, yeah, for me, it really is, I'm obsessed with, my job during the day is paying attention.
Yep.
Right? And so anything that happens during the day that I find unusual, interesting, irritating, I get my phone out or a notepad and I write that down. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I was driving home one day and I saw that there were some fireys and they were clearly trying to get a cat out of a tree. So I pulled over and I went, I didn't know this actually happened. I thought it's only in sitcoms.
Yeah, that's right.
You're actually trying to get a cat out of a tree. This big firefighter goes, you'd be surprised, mate. And it was like, anyway, I was like watching them get this cat out of the tree. They got the cat out of the tree. So the next day I go on the show and I'm talking about, they get cats out of trees. They actually have to do that. You know, someone wastes their time by calling 000 to get this fat cat out of a tree. Leave the cat up there. It'll come down eventually. They're greedy. They want dinner. And so I was saying, call in if you've ever called 000, and it's for a non-emergency service. You never know what's going to work. Oh my God. We ended up doing it for 3 or 4 days of these crazy calls. There was one person's dad who was in his 80s, and she had to put one of those sort of plastic lawn chairs in the shower for him to sit down on. Anyway, as the temperature in the shower got a bit cooler, his testicles, because old people have really low testicles,
Let's say.
Don't say it.
he got stuck. He got stuck naked. She had to call 000 to cut her dad out of a lawn chair naked in a shower. And then my favourite call was this woman who said she called 000. Her cat was stuck in a tree. Right, these fireys turn up. 2 of these big dudes go up there. The cat comes down. They get stuck. She then has to call 000 again. They're like, what do you want? There's two of your guys up a tree. They can't come down. So that's my job, is like, I tell stories to get people's stories.
That's amazing.
It's so funny.
It's such a lovely way. You know, someone tells me something, or it's like yesterday I was walking my dog and I was chatting to this old guy. You know, you can tell someone's retired. They've got all the time to chat to you. Bloody hell, mate. This is half an hour. What is this, a podcast? Anyway, I'm chatting to him. I'm making small talk. And this guy's job is fixing accordions. And I was like, that's a job?
Talk about niche.
Which, coming from me, works 3 hours a day. You can't really call that work. But he fixes accordions. And so this week, I'm now obsessed. I want to find other people who've got weird and unusual jobs. There's a guy called in today whose job is installing trampolines. That's his job.
It's something you know it exists, but you don't think about it.
No.
Like, you don't meet a guy that does it.
Oh,
You know?
that's
No,
so
but
funny.
now you know one exists.
Yeah.
Next time you see a kid's trampoline, you go, Terry probably installs that. He does great work.
Wish that happened to me when I was a kid, because I fell through my trampoline that many times. I was a
but
mum and
do you
dad
remember
job.
those old school trampolines?
Yeah.
They're not like now.
No, I
Now they
know.
got these safety nets.
Yeah.
Years ago, if you went over the edge, that was probably the end of you.
Plus the metal, the
springs,
Like,
Rusty.
Yeah, I know.
Because knows what kind of illnesses we got. You're always getting wedged down the side when you're pushing your mate down there.
They're the most dangerous things ever.
They were lethal. We're lucky to get out of childhood because of those trampolines.
Literally.
One of the guys, Rio, on my show, even said, you know, do you still sell this one for no safety nets? And this guy cracked it. He was not up for banter about that. He was like, no way. We would never do that.
We're not that progressive.
No. I actually think it's illegal now not to have one.
You'd have to.
You never
There
saw
were
one
death
with
traps.
sides.
Oh.
And also, to be honest,
The double bounce. Yeah, that
I
was my
think also
favourite.
it weeded out, this is controversial, hot take, it weeded out thick kids. They got bounced out of life and out of the gene pool, you know.
Way to put it.
If little Timmy, right, is so thick he's going to bounce off that trampoline, he was never going to do much in life anyway.
That's right.
Let him be.
Poor Timmy.
Poor Timmy. All right, let's just take a moment. Let's take a knee to remember Timmy.
When you're mentioning like you sitting, or no, the day before you're walking past, you see someone call an ambulance or call fire brigade to get a cat out of the tree. As a team at the station or your team, like what's the process of coming up with the content ideas for the next day or the week
You'd be
ahead?
horrified to see what it is. I don't like a lot of radio shows. In fact, all radio shows, they have like a spreadsheet and something awful called the run sheet. And it's like printed off and all agreed like the day before. I hate, there's nothing organic. There's no room for surprise in that. When I first came to Australian radio, I was saying, stop making these sheets. I don't need that. And they were like, how will you know what to... I've been doing this 20 years. I've never needed a printed off sheet. I just write notes down, post-it notes. So in my studio, we have a meeting and ideas get written on a post-it note and thrown up on a window. And then all I do is I'll look at the window with post-it notes on. And then I'll go, I still really like that, or I don't like that idea anymore, let's bin it, or what was that again? And then if that's got an energy stall to it, then I'll go, let's talk about that here. Now, there is planning. There are certain things we're doing this week that's been planned in from a couple of weeks ago. But in terms of the process with the team, what we agree on today will be different tomorrow. And the best shows, even if you have a rough idea, like a story like these 3 ideas, let's do this today. Sometimes someone will say something, it might be a caller, and you go, oh my God, let's find out more of that. Don't worry about the next hour. Let's do this now. Those are my favorite shows.
Yeah.
I just love that. It's what radio still does above any other medium is it's live, and it's my job to always be listening to the audience. And even when we're like, oh, we always do this thing at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, they go, it doesn't matter, let's do it next week. This is really funny. They want more of this. And so I absolutely love that. You know, it's kind of like sometimes you're trying to steer a river. It's my job to read the river and feel what the flow of it is. And it's a constant dance in and out of connection with myself, connection with the show. Felt like you can't stay in flow for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I've got better at is when I feel disconnected, or I'm like, that last break wasn't very good. Oh my God, am I going to have a bad show today? Oh, the callers aren't very good. The producers aren't on their game today. Is to catch those stories that we have in our head, because I've got 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you can be your own worst enemy in that show. You've got a microphone, and then you start to think about how many people are listening. Oh my God, did they all hear that? It was terrible radio. And so it's constantly just being aware of that critical voice we all have in our head. It can get really loud on the radio when you're live.
You've, on the flip side too, so you've interviewed and dealt with the biggest names in the world over the journey. And again, it's when you're dealing with big personalities and you hear rumors about how they may be or how they may act or what kind of day they're having, and it's just work for some of them. But one of the stories that stood out to both of us in your book was the Elton John story, where the tip you were given was he was going to perform 3 songs. He wasn't in the best of a mood, and you had to think quick on your feet. You didn't even have time to work out an intro for a live crowd. I don't want to butcher the story. Can you tell us more about what happened that day?
Yeah, sure. So Elton John had agreed to do something for my radio station in the UK. And so as part of this, I was invited to go and interview Elton John round at his house, which was an incredible experience. He literally answered the door. So we go into his kitchen.
I was not expecting that.
I wasn't. I actually was like, it took my breath away. And I was like, Elton John? He goes to me, what the fuck do you think it was going to be? I went, yeah, well, I didn't think you got your own door. I
What's
could be an
his real
Amazon
name
delivery
again?
guy. It's Elton John. You know, I thought you had someone that does this. Anyway, we go in. He goes, do you want a drink? Do you want a cup of tea or something? I was like, I'm never going to get asked again for a hot drink by Elton John. And so I didn't want a cup of tea, but I was like, can I have a cup of tea, please? And then it was very clear that he didn't know where anything was in his kitchen. So I said, you don't know where the tea bags are, do you? He goes, no. So I was like rummaging through all his gear going, I think they're here, actually. In the end, I just made my own cup of tea. Anyway, he couldn't have been more fun. Just a really, really funny guy. Still so passionate about music, and he was telling me new artists that he'd heard, and he still goes to a record shop every 2 weeks by himself, just buys new music at his own
Wow.
point. Just really passionate about music, had the best stories. Like a really, really funny storyteller. And he said at the end of it, hey, I'm doing this concert for an hour live on your radio station next week. I really want you to introduce me. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be an honor. He goes, and before that, come and hang out beforehand, backstage. Oh my God, this is incredible. It's the day of this, and it's in this chapel, a beautiful chapel in London. So the acoustics and that, it's going to be incredible. And I go and see Elton, and his manager's there, and he goes, he's in a really bad mood. I'm like, okay. He goes, he's not going to sing for an hour. I was like, what? There's like 1,000 people out there. It's like James Corden, Hugh Grant, all these celebrities were there. I was like, it's an hour of live radio. You can't just fill it now. We're here. And I go, he has to sing for an hour. She goes, he's Elton John. He'll do what he wants. You're getting 3 songs. I was like, oh my God. I tell my boss, I go, it's like 10 minutes from going live. And this is true, there was like millions of people going to be listening. This is live to the UK. The boss goes, you need to make him sing for an hour. I can't make it. He's Elton John. He doesn't need to do
Could you do an
this.
extended version of Crocodile
Yeah,
Rock?
he doesn't need to do this. I can't make him do an hour. He goes, this is what we pay you for. Do something. And I remember just thinking, what am I going to do? He's just going to walk off after 3 songs. And I was like, what? We'll just have to wait and see what happens. So I just remember walking out there and seeing everyone. And everyone was so excited. Because for Elton John, this is an intimate gig. And it's in a chapel. And there's this beautiful white Steinway piano there. It was all set. And I suddenly remember thinking how exciting everyone was right now. And I thought, oh my God, he's still going to have an ego like we all have. I went, now, obviously at the end of this, we're probably going to give him a standing ovation. He's Elton John. We're going to see him in a really rare, intimate setting. Why don't we give him that standing ovation now? Of course, suddenly he was like, I introduced Elton John. The crowd are going berserk. They're on their feet already. As we walk past each other, Elton just goes to me, well done, mate, you fucked me. He does an hour and a half.
Wow.
And he was amazing.
That is insane.
He was just like, there's no way I can let this crowd down after 3 songs and just go, see ya. And they're like, we gave you an ovation. He's going to end with them sat down upset. The show that worked him backwards, like he had them on their feet, and then it was like, wait, 3 songs, that's it. He was amazing.
Yeah.
He was amazing. So yeah, I think that was an example of maybe the gods or something. Me just remembering, they are big stars, but at the end of the day, they're exactly the same as all of us. They have the same drives and the same ego as all of us. And I just thought, oh my God, there's no way this dude's going on stage in 1/4 of an hour's time. There's no way. They're on their feet. They're so happy
That's
to see
amazing.
you.
Yeah, that is one of the best stories I reckon I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Ricky Gervais, he's someone that we've always obviously loved over the years. But one name that I know, what you worked closely with was Carl Pilkington on
Yes.
XFM. Can you maybe talk about the XFM days? Because here in Australia, you hear about XFM, but we don't know about it. We can go back and listen to some of the podcasts, but it was, the indie station. It was, listening and reading about it. It was, you guys kind of had a bit more creative control. Maybe share a little bit about what the radio station was and why you wanted to work there so bad.
Yeah, that was always a dream for me. Once I got onto Breakfast Show, was to be on XFM. They played really cool music, and it was like a cool London music station, and it was indie music. I guess you'd probably say like Triple J.
Yeah.
And I got offered the Breakfast Show there after 2 years in radio, and moved to London, and I was paid not much money. My wife had to take a part-time job at the weekend to support us financially, just afford to live in London. But from 2000, 2006, it was some of the most exciting times of my life because about 9 months into me being on XFM, I got to know Ricky Gervais. This is before The Office, and he gave me a video cassette with a pilot of The Office. And I remember sticking it on to that. I wonder what this is. And then I got about 3 minutes into it, and I realized, oh, this is amazing. This is really, really funny. This is going to be something. So I remember ringing Ricky and went, please, you've got to come and talk about this. This is going to be huge. And so I've got to know Ricky since that was, 2001, 2002 when it came out. And sort of got to know Ricky for, been talking to Ricky and interviewing him for, a long time now, over 20 years. And he's a dream guest. He's someone who's interesting. He's incredibly funny, but he's also a deep thinker. If you look at his shows, Afterlife.
Yeah.
It's a show about, we all know what it's about. That's hard to pull that off and get the right tone where it honors what this guy's going through, grief. And I've never seen a TV show about grief, and I've known friends of mine who've lost partners. That show has actually really helped them, and that's Ricky, who is a phenomenal stand-up, on the edges stand-ups around. So, but yeah, Carl Pilkington was my producer. And then now Ricky he's won like awards. He's a multi-millionaire. I now have to interview Carl Pilkington. And this is a guy who used to bring me cups of tea and was a grumpy sort of northerner who would go to me, it's not a very funny bit, that, mate. But he was extremely funny. I used to beg him to come on the radio because he was just so funny, you know, and he's a deeply intelligent guy. But yeah, it was just so exciting. We had Zane Lowe, who now is Mr. Apple Music. He did the evening show. So it was like, you know, we had like, you know, Ricky and Carl and Steve did a radio show on a Saturday afternoon. It was a really exciting time in life. And then the radio station got bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know, we grew with it. And it was just really exciting. Those things don't happen very often in your career. I'll never have that again, you know, to be on an indie station that got bigger. And it was also a time, the early 2000s, indie music was massive. There were some really great bands around. You would have been doing Big Day Out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember doing a competition and sending 2 listeners from London to Big Day Out. So indie music was really big then. It was just an exciting time in my life personally and also musically and with that radio station as well. It was just a golden couple of years.
Can I quickly jump in? You mentioned competition. What's the best prize you reckon you've given away over your whole radio career?
I don't know, actually. You know, sometimes I've recently just realised now it's not the big prizes. It's the smaller prizes sometimes that these days have a really interesting, like, it was just like the other week in the countdown to Father's Day, we just did something I just suddenly realised that dads are like a mystery to their families. They don't really know what dad wants.
Yeah.
And you think about Mother's Day, right? For weeks before Mother's Day, there's like hundreds of different types of cards. You fast forward to Father's Day, it's like 2 cards. It's like an old racing car or a Sharon or an old tennis racket. And it's like, there's way more to dads than that. And so people don't know what to get dad. So I just said, hey, listen, I've got $1,000 a day. Dads, what do you actually want? I'll get it for you. And sometimes kids were calling in or partners were calling in for their husbands to get dad. Mainly it was dads just saying what they want. And I just remember, like, one woman rang in to get, her husband wanted to lose a bit of weight, and they had like about 5 kids, just wanted to get him some trainers. It sounds really basic, but actually these days that's a big prize to somebody. And so, I said, we'll get him some Nikes. And this woman, I rang her after the show because she was so emotional, and she was like crying with gratitude. And that means more to me than some of the big trips, because you're like, oh my God, that's really touched me. It's really made a difference in their lives. And so, it's actually some of the smaller things I find are more interesting to me. And these days, there's so much noisy, dumb radio of people screaming, you won a trip to Florida. You're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And the thing goes, oh, my God, thank you. And it's just like, we're still doing this?
Yeah.
I hate all that. I'm far more interested in Nike trainers for a dad who wants to lose a couple of Ks.
On the flip side, any really shit giveaways?
By the way, do we work for Garb?
Yeah, I know. We're waiting. We were waiting.
I was like,
This is
I'm
a
waiting for Christian's
shoddy.
short little jab here. I'm like, oh,
Well,
no.
it's shot jab. I mean, it's like non-stop. There's an alarm been going off for half
Hopefully
an hour.
the audience don't hear this once the editing's done, but it is quite annoying.
There's like, it must be like the depot for all the lorries coming in. All I've been hearing
Unfortunately,
is,
we're right next to a major construction site. That's not even the worst. You should see what we
There's
come
a
to.
jackhammer that comes in
Sometimes
about 1
there's a
o'clock,
crane.
which that'll be after your interview.
did you go on ChatGPT and go, what's the noisiest place we could record audio in Melbourne?
With no soundproof.
We were literally,
The door's wide open. Shut the door, team.
we were going to scope out how much it would cost to actually soundproof this place, and we realised it's
Wait,
not in
this
our
isn't even
budget.
soundproof.
No,
If I'd
no,
known that, I
no.
wouldn't even come here today.
Yeah, I know. Lucky you just having to walk in off the street. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, lucky me.
Yeah. I was going to ask you too. So another really fascinating interview that I loved reading about was David Cameron, and just how, for its time, how much it disrupted UK politics and what it meant to a radio, but also just the status quo, and probably in some ways, I don't know how it reflected on him, but I think it's a genius way to kind of go about it. Can you tell us about what happened that day?
Yes, so David Cameron used to be the Prime Minister in the UK, and he came on the show, and he swore twice. Now, that might not be that shocking here in Australia, because actually it's a lot looser, the language here, on the radio. And I don't swear on the radio. I just don't think you need to do it. I haven't got a problem swearing. I swear a lot. But in the radio studio, I just think it's not the best use of your words. So anyway, so it's a really big deal when the Prime Minister on. He swears twice. And I think he'd been maybe PR'd to say, hey, it'll make you look edgy. But one of the words he didn't think was a swear word because he's very, very posh. And it is a swear word. And it became the lead news story. I mean, so much so that by the time he left and he was on live, there were like news trucks outside setting up satellite dishes reporting on him being on the show or what he just said. And so I remember one of his flunkies came in and went, we need to go, Prime Minister.
That is insane.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. It became like the lead news story for 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
So he said piss, but he mentioned the context of people are pissed off with politics.
Yeah.
And then he said the word twat. In the UK, this is a really bad swear word.
Oh,
okay?
really?
But I said to him, we went to a song and I said, hey, don't mind some of that language, but what you just said is a swear word. And he goes, oh, no, it's not. It's a pregnant fish. I went, no, maybe it's a posh show like you. It's an aggressive swear word about for female genitalia. Went, no. Anyway, that was the word that people got upset about. And so I remembered it got investigated. Quite a few people complained. And it got denied that actually was a context. And he did something really great. I remember we had the report. He'd printed off the report, looking into it, and the official findings that twat was not deemed an offensive swear word. He framed it, right, signed it with few, and sent it to me. In my bathroom toilet to this day is that report with a picture of Dave Cameron that he put few and signed it, and the language saying that twat is we investigated is not deemed an unacceptable word at breakfast radio. And so yeah, it was just like it was bizarre. I remember my mum ringing me. It was on the news that night, and my mum just misunderstood it that I'd sworn. And she was like ringing me to tell me off. I went, I didn't swear, the Prime Minister did. She goes, come on now, you got to just own up if you did something like that. I went, why would I suddenly start swearing on the radio? And he came on, nice man like Mr. Cameron wouldn't swear on the radio. I went, Mum, he swore.
That's incredible.
So yeah, it was just a crazy thing where it just became this strange news story about the Prime Minister swearing. And it was all stuff like, it was a very po-faced way. It was like the BBC were reporting on me. And I was referred to as youth-orientated presenter. I was like in my 40s at the time. I went, you can't call someone in their 40s a youth. As Prime Minister turns nation's airwaves blue.
Oh,
Who has been maybe more some of the difficult interviewers that you've had to sit down with? Or you know, because I'm sure you dealt with or spoken with rock stars or people that have had big nights or, you know, and they don't want to be there, or who are a couple that you go, oh, geez.
I remember Bradley Cooper came in for an interview, right? And you could just tell, and I get it, these poor people, they're literally herded around to do, 30, 40 interviews a day. And a lot of the questions are dumb, and so I feel sorry for them, Anyway, he came in, you could tell he was just like, I was a start of probably a very long day. He was just not feeling it. And I remember it was odd because when I had big guests on, I would never let them bring their flunkies in. So it'd just be me and them. And I remember we had Dave Grohl once came in and he ended up staying for another hour because he was just having such a good time. He used to do college radio and he was just happy to be in a radio studio.
What a legend.
And he'd end up doing like the travel news every quarter of an hour. He was
doing the weather.
He's working on the show. So what happens is if I say that their PR people can't come in, I then get this connection. You know what that's like.
For sure.
If I had a team around me, it loosens it. And they're too self-aware. So anyway, it was just me. I could tell straight away he was a bit upset that it's like some flunky couldn't come in and the vibes were just a bit off, and he had these big sunglasses on. So I'm sat with a guy with just sunglasses, or just like hard. You see someone's eyes, and about a minute in, I just remember thinking, is this going nowhere? And so I said, "Are you Bradley Cooper?" Right? And he goes, "Yeah." And then, why are you wearing sunglasses? Unless you're trying to, I'm here to interview you. I know you're Bradley Cooper. You know you're Bradley Cooper. You're here to be interviewing me. Who are you hiding from? It's just me and you. And I could tell it was a moment where I thought he was going to crack it and like walk out, but he just laughed, took them off, and he went, sorry.
Are you Bradley Cooper?
And I go,
That's
you
genius,
appear
though.
to be in disguise as a very famous Hollywood A-lister. Are you Bradley Cooper? And he apologised, and then he was fantastic. He did something really nice, which he's the only person done it. The next day, a courier turned up with a handwritten note from Bradley Cooper thanking me for our chat and that it really cheered him up for the rest of the day.
Wow.
And I thought, what a lovely thing. He doesn't need to do that. It's just this is my job. But I thought, what a classy thing to do as
sure.
well. There was another one. I won't name who this is, but this is someone who is a lister. And I turned up, and my producer had forgotten the microphone stands. So this person was expected to hold a microphone 50 minutes. I gave him his microphone, and he just went like this, dunk, and it dropped on the table. It went, and I went, you need to pick it up. We can't hear you. He goes, I'm not holding a microphone. I went, well, we won't hear anything you say. I had to promote a movie. And so we started the interview. My producer's like, don't push it, right? This guy, we were lucky to get caught for an hour with him. This guy was like barely awake. Every question, he was just like, ugh. And I actually just lost my temper. I said, let's not bother doing this. You clearly do not want to be interviewed, and I get it. It's just like, I'm not wasting my time. I said, it's a shame because I went to see the movie last week. It's a brilliant movie, and I really want to help you promote it. But this is just bullshit. So let you get 20 minutes off now. I'm going. And he went, no. I'm really sorry. That's unacceptable. Picked up the microphone, and then he was brilliant.
Wow.
He ended up giving us half an hour. He was really, really funny. So I think they just have bad days.
And they're
like
human.
all of us.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a strange thing to do what they do. But they are paid a couple of million, you know.
Dude, just hold it. Just
Hold it, dude. Just hold it.
But it's about, like you say, I mean, it's humanizing people too. And I think that's really, really, it's important. Because if you treat them any differently or like they're this big star, like you said, they get these dumbass questions. We hear them all the time. Everybody probably goes in going, oh, how can we get something different out of them?
Yeah, totally. They're trying to get a soundbite out of them, and so forth. They're guarded going in, and so I get it. It's horrible. They're trying to be tricked out. Someone's trying to get a quote that then could make their show a name and be virally trending. So I've cut back now massively on celebrity interviews. I hardly do them now.
Yeah.
Because actually they don't say anything interesting. They're not interested in having a real conversation. They just want to get the message across. They maybe tell you one story they've told everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's nothing genuine about it. So I choose not to play that game
100%.
anyway.
I was going to ask though, so you mentioned earlier on, I would like to actually hear more about your interest or passion in music and being the career that you've gone down, maybe some of the experiences, not necessarily that you've just been able to have because of either tickets through the radio station or whatever it may be. So maybe you can start by telling us, what genre of music you like, the kind of bands, and then maybe meeting these people and then experiencing them.
I have a really broad, eclectic taste in music. I like Taylor Swift. My daughter's got me to Taylor Swift. I was there at the MCG, and one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had at a live show. I was just blown away watching 100,000 fans of Taylor Swift, just what an incredible connection she has with her audience. Forget about the snobbery, whether or not you rate her as an artist. It was a deeply spiritual experience. I remember going to the toilet, and there wasn't a lot of men my age there. Not to really target Taylor Swift. People were looking at me like I was an undercover cop. They're like, oh, it's Narco doing it. Yeah. That's what my kids were calling me. They call me Narco. I was like, I'm your dad. And I mean, you stand out like a sore thumb. People are like, is that creepiness here?
And he knows every word.
Yeah, and he's crying. He's crying. I remember going to the toilet, and there were women running back from the toilets. They didn't want to miss any of this show. And I remember just seeing that's authentic connection. This is incredible. So, I like that. But then I'm always going to be erring towards the music I grew up with, which was it's guitars and drums. It's rock and roll for me. Indie music, Stones, Led Zepp, Springsteen. My mum, I grew up with a mum that was music mad, and she would dance me in the front room, and so music was a big part of growing up. And so music and comedy in my house, there was a lot of laughter, and there was a lot of music, and that was mum. And so Springsteen's my guy.
Have you ever met him or interviewed?
No, and I don't think I should. I think it'd be really embarrassing. I would just bore him. When you interview people you're a fan of, they just want you to be cool.
Yeah.
They don't want some guy falling to pieces in front of them going, I can't believe you're there. They're like, yeah, right, mate. Oh, this is going to be hearing this for 50 years. Just get on with it. Yeah. So no, it would not be great. But I love Springsteen, and then I turned 50 2 years ago, and I went to Ireland and I saw him live, and there's just something about that guy's work ethic and the passion. He's in his 70s. He's still showing up. And it was the only music show I've seen where it could almost make me cry what happened at the end. He just they were all at different ages there. People was in their teenagers, 20-year-olds, and middle-aged people like me. And then as we're leaving, when you see Springsteen, it's something else. It's a spiritual experience. When everyone was leaving, there were 20,000 people there. No one was making any noise. You know, when you've seen something that literally blows you away, everyone was like leaving, I don't know, like a mass or something, where they were leaving in silence. And this is Ireland, you know, it was a Friday night. But people were just kind of like, wow. And it was so incredible. It's one of those amazing things I've ever experienced in my life. You went from, you know, almost 3 hours of energy, noise, everyone singing along with him, to he'd moved us so deep that everyone was leaving in a kind of referential silence to it. So yeah, Springsteen still blows me away now. His passion, that he's still doing it, and he cares so much. You get, he never just shows up. You never see him phoning it in. And I find him inspirational. To this day, I still do. And just the way he talks about life and the music he makes. My favorite Springsteen story is, I remember a couple of weeks after 9/11 happened, and he was like watching all of this unfold and his country fall apart. And such a voice of blue collar America. Wasn't sure if what was going to happen, whether that we were going to be on the verge of the next nuclear war, and would he ever feel it right to record music again? Would it be a thing? You know, his country was literally breaking, and he was just going to get his groceries, and he was loading them up into his car, and someone drove by and honked their horn and went, "Bruce, we need you right now." And he literally got in his truck and he rang the band and went, "Meet me in the studio this afternoon." And they went back to work. And I was just like, that's him, that voice, and someone saying, "We need you right now. We need you to make sense. Help us, give us hope. Tell us something about what we're experiencing." And as someone who is a communicator and dreams of doing it well, that's what Springsteen can do. He puts experiences we all have, like any good singer-songwriter or a comedian. They add words to our experience. They make sense of what it is to be fully human. And so there was a great Irish philosopher. I was listening to an interview once, and he explained in one line why music matters to us all. He said that music is what language aspires to be. So because music can just move you within seconds, can't it? Your favorite
100%.
song, or it reminds you of when you were younger and a road trip or something like that. And so music to me is like, there's not a day go by I'm not listening to music. I absolutely love hearing new stuff. You know, I'm not one of these old farts who's like, "Oh, I know good songs been made in the last 30 years. Is this a car alarm going off, or is it a rapper? Who is this Snoop guy playing at the grand final? I'm 9,000. Music's fantastic. I've seen the Beastie Boys. I've seen the Rolling Stones and U2 do warm-up shows in front of a couple hundred people. I'm a big Oasis fan. I never thought they'd reunite. I was lucky enough to interview Noel, and Liam just hadn't turned up. He had a hangover. And Noel goes after the interview, goes, "What are you doing now?" And I went on going back to the station to edit this. He goes, "You want to see us rehearse?" And it was Oasis minus Liam. And I was there, and it was a room, roughly the same size as this Oasis minus Liam. And he was like, "What are your favourite songs?" So I picked
You're
5.
kidding.
And then Noel and the band did it to Only Me. And then Noel just goes at the end of it, and I'm like, "Can't believe this." He goes, "You can fuck off now." And I was like, I absolutely will fuck off.
That's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I went
speechless.
I went to get my phone out at one point to film it, right? And Noel just went, count on. And I was like, "Don't really, mate."
Shaking their head.
It's just like,
Don't
mate,
you
no one's
fucking
gonna,
dare.
no
Don't
one's
even-
gonna believe me if I don't take a photo.
I'll just put that away. I was just turning it off. I was just actually breaking it. Thanks for reminding me to break my phone. Yeah. Hate these things. It's not even mine.
Oh, that's so funny.
I think it's time for our segment.
Yeah.
How long have we been going, Bryce?
Yeah.
Over an hour.
Oh,
Holy
gosh.
shit, that went
it goes,
fast.
It goes so quick.
You guys are very good at what you do. You should know that. You know, you're very, very good at what you do. It's you make your guests feel very safe and relaxed, and that's the number one, the most important thing whenever you're with anybody in life, is that they feel safe in your company. You don't get any connection, whether you're interviewing people or just speaking to family and friends or anyone, if they don't feel safe in your company. People don't understand that. They think it's about a skill set and can you do this and how do you do that. The number one thing, the most important thing, is that you make people feel safe. And you guys are really good at what you do.
Appreciate
I
that.
feel like I've known you for years.
That means a lot. That's how I feel as well.
I mean,
I've listened
genuinely
to you
enjoying
for a long
talking
time.
to you guys.
Thank you. No, that's
it's like a proper. Like, you know what I said about how, you know, if you do it right, it should feel like a proper conversation, and it goes all over the place. But that's how a good conversation is.
I think a key part of what you mentioned earlier, which we resonate with hugely, is like the whole run sheet and agenda and over preparing, and we love to have control like over our lives. Like we're too worried about the future. We get anxious. You know, we want to control everything, make sure everything's okay. And it's the same with this. And we never have a run sheet. You know, we'll send the guys a bit of a rundown of the day and what's going to look like. But you know, we'll go and have a coffee before, and we'll work out the key things we want to get out of the interview. But it's just the best parts about this interview are the parts that we probably didn't even plan.
Totally, and that's like any conversation with anything. When a good conversation is when everyone's fully present and you're not checking out, trying to control it or manipulate it. You're just following the flow of it, you know, and that's what connection is. It's not when somebody's trying to force something or force something out of somebody. And so much of a lot of conversations at work, especially online, are that. You're trying to get somewhere, get him to talk about that. You know, whereas this has felt like a genuine conversation. But you guys should know you're very good at what you do.
Appreciate it. That means a lot. That does mean a lot.
I've enjoyed talking to you immensely.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
So we've actually got a brand new segment partner.
Yeah.
We've got the perfect guest for this. And you do enjoy your golf, don't you, Christian? You play a little bit of golf.
No, thanks for doing some research. I have said many times in interviews I quit 3 years ago.
Oh, okay, so we did play Golf Clearance Outlet.
Yes.
They're one of the biggest and the best golf stores across the country.
That got awkward real quick. I love playing golf.
Well, the thing is, now, this is the thing about these guys. They're brand new to the show. This is their first segment too. So we
You
really
are joking.
No, I'm not
guy
joking.
quit golf.
They're brand new. Well, that's okay because we may be able to get you back into it. Because the great thing
Do
about
you know
these
what? Now I
guys,
think about it, I'm going to take up golf again.
yeah, and
Perfect.
you would love these guys, Christian, because if you kind of know what you're doing and you want just a great bargain, this is the place to go. But also, where they really hold their hat on is the fact that if you're brand new to golf and you know nothing and you just want to get
That's
a set.
me.
Okay, well, if you want to get a set of clubs, you want to get a tyre, you want to get everything done, you can get it in, I think it's less than 430 bucks.
It's really affordable.
Just to get everything ready to go, they'll look after you.
Do they do a tyre?
Yes. Yes, they do.
I've never heard anyone your age use that phrase. Are you a time traveller?
Maybe.
Who wanders around going into golf outlets going, do you do a tyre?
That's etiquette.
It's
It's golf etiquette. It's golf etiquette.
And it's actually a very good
Phrase
point.
attire.
Like, do you have any golf clothes?
No, you'd say, where is the attire? Is there a attire section here?
And they do everything, all the biggest brands as well. So head to golfclearanceoutlet.com.au to find them online. Or they've got plenty of stores as
They
well.
do. Now, we're about to hear Christian's confession in the confession booth. But before we do, we've obviously moved the set behind you. So behind you, Christian, there's a couple of things to notice. A, we've got that buggy. Now, this is only 5.5 kilos to move this buggy along. Very lightweight. And only $200, Dos. Unbelievable.
$200.
$200.
And then actually,
When I was playing, I had one of these cars. It cost me like $600. That is amazing. $200.
$200, and it's just
5
light.
kilos.
It's light as.
Yeah?
It's light
Well, what
as.
about a tyre? What would I wear with that? You got any tips?
well, it's going to be
You might
24
get-
degrees today, so I'd go with the
You've
shorts.
got to get the right attire.
Yeah, you got to get the right shorts, the right golf shoes, and socks. Head
I
straight
could
to
probably
golf.
fit some attire in that. I think you could.
And a hat. Oh, that's a tyre.
But what about the heads?
Well, the
That's what
heads
I'm
over there.
interested in.
The head covers on the clubs in there.
Actually,
Funnily
Christian,
enough,
without notice, do you notice anything about those heads or those?
I don't think you can see it.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, sorry, you might have to put your neck out for that. See the red
Hey,
one?
some sort of logo on there. A
There
man
is.
waving.
Well,
Okay, so-
that is Bruce Buffer. So they did a collaboration with
Oh,
Bruce
wow.
Buffer for their head covers. And, well, hey, Jared, go and grab one of the clubs out. Christian will actually really appreciate this because it's got a little special feature.
Let's just say that when I was in the car yesterday, I thought I had a ghost in my car when these things were going off. Go on, do you want to? Yeah, there we go.
Press on that.
That's pretty cool.
It's
No,
what
you don't
you
get
do
that
when you're about
anywhere.
to tee
You don't
off.
get that anywhere else, but Golf
won't,
Clearance
no.
Outlet. Oh.
Exclusive to them. Now, we will talk a little bit more about them a little bit later on, but first, we need to hear the confession because they've got a present for you. Should you complete the confession challenge, the confessional?
I hope it's some attire. Because these are the only clothes I own. And I was literally after this going to go shopping for a tyre. I'm in the right place.
You're going to be very excited in about 5
There is
minutes.
some attire
There's
coming.
a tyre
Wow.
coming, yeah.
You want my shocking confession?
I would love a shocking confession.
Okay, I'm going to take you way back to the early days of my career. Second breakfast show I did, I was working for this tiny radio station in a great city in the UK called Liverpool. And it was a tin pot station, right? I ended up hiring a listener to be my sidekick. I had to pay her myself, $20 a day. She was just someone, it was just me doing this radio show and a news guy. There was no
Just
IT
say
or
you
engineers.
paid a listener?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Out of my own money. And I wasn't earning a lot of money. It was just a tiny station. They'd hired me, and Liverpool's a great city, and I thought it'd be a really good learning experience to work with this legendary radio boss, and which is why I really went. And there was no kind of engineers. Every radio station worker, they have engineers, because if anything technically goes wrong with the studio or station during the show, they can fix it within seconds. I used to have to call out an IT number in India and myself be by all these monitors rests, mending the radio station. There'd be no show off air, and this would happen 2 or 3 times a month. What happened was, over time, I became very good at working out how the radio station worked. And so I'd realised often on a Thursday in Liverpool, Thursday night was a big night out. I would often go out on a Thursday night and get quite merry. And so sometimes coming in to Friday's breakfast show, I'd be a little bit tired. And so I'd worked out how I could make it look like the radio station went off air. And so I would deliberately take the station off air, moan to my boss, it's gone off air again, and sleep for sometimes half an hour in the studio, wake up and go, I feel a bit better now. You know, like just half an hour reset, put the station back on and go, oh, it's working again now. I need equipment here, boss. And so, yeah.
That is cheeky.
Yes, it is cheeky. Yeah.
Did anyone find out about that at the station?
No.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty good scam, that. That really out sometimes after some big old Thursday nights out in Liverpool.
That is absolutely phenomenal, isn't it, Dos? That is one of the best confessions we've heard.
I reckon it's so phenomenal. Christian's going to get the Pro FX Sharpshooter Slope Rangefinder,
Yes,
which
please,
he can
Dos.
take on the
What?
course with him. Bring it in, Jared. How good's that? This is
Guys,
this is
thank
the best
you
in the
very
business.
Much. You know what I'm going to use this to find?
What?
My attire.
I knew that was coming.
Oh,
But
my
the thing,
word. There's some pants over there.
but you know what? There's a lot of these on the market at the moment. But the great thing about this sharpshooter is it's a real deal, accurate, fast, and flat out unbeatable on price. Only $166 if you want to look like Christian does.
How do they make any money with this? That is too cheap.
That's exactly right.
Guys, you can't run a business giving it away like that.
Why pay more when you can go straight to GCO and get it all for this price? It's crazy.
Absolutely. So golfclearanceoutlet.com.au, shop online. We'll have some more details in the show notes. But that is your present for your confessional.
Thank you very much, Golf Clearance.
Now, here comes the best part. It's a dos&d goodie bag. So this is when you back the truck up. So do we start with the attire, Dos?
Let's
Or do
bring in
we
the
leave it to
attire.
last?
Maybe we leave it to last.
Let's leave the attire till last. All right, Jared, well, you surprise us. What are you going to bring out first?
Oh,
All right,
Milkman.
The Milkman. He's the
Milkman
first present.
Australia. Christian, they're leading the way in all things male grooming. So zip that up. They've got everything from hair products, beard oils, fragrances.
I'm looking to give myself a Brazilian. Would I be able to do this?
I think so.
I wouldn't put it past them.
No.
I think you've got, what's in there? The body wash. I think that's all in one as well. So it's a bit of shampoo as well.
Yep.
I think it's,
Wow, this is
That's the
great.
one I use, actually.
Is it?
No, I won't bother because it stink.
There's some natural deodorant. There's no nasties in that as well. Roll on. And fragrance, some aftershave. So head to milkmanaustralia.com. Use the code dos&d for 20% off at checkout.
Love that. Love that. All right, next up, Jared, what do we got for Christian?
Supplements.
Oh, Dossy boy.
Roids.
Roids.
No, actually, no. It has to
I'm looking to
approve.
get into juicing.
The beauty here is there's no worry. Everything's been tested. So you've got
And you guys.
By us.
You seem a little bit off if you ask me.
Well, we've got you the pre-workout. You have that before you work out.
Creatine, I
The
take this every day.
Do you actually?
Creatine is phenomenal.
It's good for you.
Now, big fan. What do you got? Sweeties.
Yeah. Well,
So this is the best thing. So they're gummies. So you chew them. So instead of walking around the gym with a big protein shake and making
what
a
I
whole
have
lot
to
of
do.
noise, well,
leave them like lollies.
I'm getting
just,
mad gains.
just don't eat more than 3 in one serving.
I get too many gains.
Yeah. Or
no,
some
it's
stomach issues.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put
that
it.
happened to me.
I don't know. I don't want to be shitting into my tire.
I don't think you want to be shitting into your tire either. So just have the 3. Just chew on them before you
Yeah.
go. But they do taste like lollies. They actually taste delicious.
And now you can find these Chemist Warehouse, Coles, or head to supplements.com. use the code dos&d, 30% off.
Yes, use the code.
And they don't just have, there's not just those three. There's plenty of other different supplements they have as well.
Post-workout,
BCAAs.
Well, I am going to the gym later on, so I will use these.
Perfect.
Thanks, guys. Great idea.
So to wash it all down, we've got Tommy's. Bring it out. Bring out the Tommy's Spritz. Now this
Maybe
is
grab the sups as well for him, Jared.
especially on a hot day like today. These go down an absolute treat. They're a vodka Spritz, aren't they, Dos? A few different flavors, and they're made by the good people at Freddy's. So I don't know if you've been to Freddy's on Chapel Street. It's a pizzeria. Yeah, beautiful. So we went there the other night, and we had Tommy's on tap, didn't we?
Lovely.
Went down an absolute treat. But these are the canned ones. Mandarin is my favorite.
Is there raspberry there as well?
There's a raspberry too, but mandarin's my favourite. You'll love that one, Christian. For all the viewers, check them out. Tommy's 01 is a code, and you'll get 10% off your Tommy's, Dos.
Jeez,
Thank you.
There's a lot of discounts. And then lucky last.
Lucky last. Oh, here it is.
attire.
The attire. This is what Christian's been waiting for.
Guys, you're spoiling me with this.
So
Russell Athletic Attire.
Russell Athletic Attire. Now, this is Mitch Dowd and Russell Athletic. They're good friends and partners of the show, have been for a long time, but they like to personally look after each guest. So if you don't mind, let's have a look what's in that bag, because it's not the same for everybody else. I'd love to know what they've sent you. That's a dad kick. Dad barbecue gift set.
Yes, I was barbecuing only the day at the weekend in the States. This is... Oh, we've got the old school proper like cafe squeeze.
That's right.
wow.
For mustard and ketchup.
But that's
Thank
not
you
the
very much.
that's not the attire. Let's see what the attire
Oh,
is.
my
It's-
word.
What
What?
have they given you, Christian? Father's Day's just been.
You got some boxes, 3 pairs. Just
Going everywhere.
No way to treat
There's too much attire.
Ross Athletic. You do not belong on the
They're the
floor.
Mitch Dowds. They're the Mitch Dowds.
Yeah.
And
These are beautiful, full of colour and energy.
there you
it.
go. They got some socks for you.
They really are staying on that theme of hot food. Do they think I run a restaurant or something?
I think they thought you were a master chef.
Hey, come on, why do me like that, Ross Athletic? What else? And this beautiful T-shirt.
I think that's a
my
pajama
God, what a
top.
lovely
They're
colour.
pajama tops for you, mate. Some jocks and socks, just in case you didn't get enough on Father's Day. But they'll look after you.
I would wear this. I would wear this.
Well, I look
would
forward to
wear it
seeing that
today.
at Gold. Yeah,
That's
all
a
right.
handy pocket too for
Just don't-
pens, my gummy snacks. They can all go in.
You fit them all in.
Yeah.
But here's the best part, Christian. If that's not good enough
What?
for you, if that's not
Stop
good
it,
enough, if that's not
guys.
good, just before you bring that,
I actually feel
before you
sick.
bring that in, this is for the viewers. We need to say now, if you want to look like
I
Christian,
feel like such a sellout.
I know.
Just all this stuff.
I'm a fucking whiff about this show now. I take back anything I said about how good you are. This is the most shameless thing I've ever seen. Why don't you get on your hands and knees?
well, they've got the quarter zips, they've got the tracky
no,
pants,
they've
they've
got
got all
everything.
I love a quarter zip.
So if you want 40% off, Christian, all
Well,
you have to
you
do.
might get it for free.
Well, we could talk, but if the viewers want 40% off, which is a mad discount, head to
Crazy.
Mitch Dowd or Russell Athletic, use the code dos&d 40% off. Make the most of that. That's big. Now,
Now, the best till last, the
Yeah.
dos&d goodie bag. So,
just so you could fit it all in.
yeah, geez, lucky you got an Uber. You can use the boot. So, in that goodie bag, thanks to our naming rights
Don't have to
partners,
go
you
through it.
don't have to go through that.
No, there's nothing in it. It's light. It's like cramming.
There's a few more little golf goodies. So our naming rights partner, Fleet Plant Hire Solutions, they love their golf. So you've got a golf glove, some balls, some tees, towel as well.
Just to get Christian back in the mood for golf.
Yes,
Which is very important.
Enough of the
Let's
salesy
stop that.
pitch. I think it's time to thank our guest.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Christian, we just need to thank you so much. It's like we
Wait,
said.
is this a segment?
No, it's
No.
not a
Oh,
segment.
sorry.
The thank you segment. Yeah.
I thought you'd even sold the thank yous.
Actually, I did word it that way, didn't I?
Yeah.
And now it's time for the thank
Who's
you.
that brought to you by?
Guys, come back to being humans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're back to
yeah.
humans, back to humans, back to humans, back to humans. We do want to thank you. It does mean a lot. We've been so excited to connect with you. And like we said off the top, in a very quick way, you are an icon of the radio. You are a legend of the radio industry. You will forever, in all seriousness, you'll go down in 2 countries as a legend, maybe even 3 in the future. Who knows where your path will take you. Your story, even the parts we didn't get to touch on today, is huge. It's the mental health side that you're very open about. But like we said, means a lot for you to come in and
Yeah, my
give us some
pleasure.
time.
Mate, you do
And
great work.
Thank
You
you.
do really good. Good luck with it, guys.
Appreciate
You're
it.
going to be
Thank you.
huge. You are. Very slick pro operation here.
Thanks.
I love the chat. Thank you.
Awesome.
Loved
Thanks.
it. Thanks, Christian.